Today we are talking about network analysis. We know what is Gantt chart or bar chart. We know what is milestone chart. We know what is progress control chart. So using these we are unable to relate between activities. That, for example, after foundation work only plinth work should start, or after major portion of plinth work only superstructure should be starting. Okay, so these kinds of relationship between activities, various processes and activities, are difficult to understand in case of Gantt chart and milestone charts. So we are adopting a new technique, network analysis. A network is a logical and graphical representation of activities. Okay, activities examples are plastering, foundation work, painting, plumbing work, etc. These are all activities. Okay, so for network analysis there are two entities mainly. One is activity. For example, painting, plastering, plumbing, anything, etc. Okay, and second one, event is a point before or after an activity which does not consume any resource or does not consume any time. Okay, for example, if this is an activity, for example it is painting. Okay, this arrow represents an activity of painting, and suppose the duration is 3 days. We usually represent description of that activity on the top and duration at the bottom. Okay, so it starts at 0 and ends at 3 days. Okay, and we express these two circles as these are events, and this event will be starting of painting. This is an event. Okay, and obviously this one will be completion of painting. Okay, so as itself, starting of painting doesn't consume any resources and doesn't consume any time. Completion of painting is also an event which does not consume any resource or time. Just the painting as an activity consumes 3 days. Okay, so this is the general idea of activity and event. Okay, so when it comes to network analysis or network diagrams, we will be having a number of activities like foundation, masonry work, brick work, plastering work, painting work, finishing works, plumbing, electrical works, etc. You will be having a big diagram. Okay, so in case of establishing interrelationship between these activities, you will be using these terms or these symbols to represent events and activities. Okay, so for example, the primary logic is if these are two events, this is event 1, this is activity 1, and before that there is another activity like this. Okay, so events are named as 1, 2, 3, and activities are A, B, C, etc. Okay, so normally activities are named alphabetically and events are in numbers, but not always. Normally it is done so. Okay, so by this diagram we need to understand that activity B can only be started after event 2 occurs. Okay, or activity B can only be started after the completion of activity A. Okay, do you get the point? That's why we have represented like this. Okay, so B can only be started after event 2 occurs or activity A completes. Activity A complete means event 2 has occurred. Okay, so that is the general idea. That is the logic behind network analysis. And when we come to activities and events, we are going into classifications. Okay, so events, this is an activity, duration, these are events 1 and 2. Okay, so activity is an arrow like this. Okay, when we take this single activity with 2 events, this second activity is called as head event. Sorry, this second event is known as head event of activity A, because it is at the head of arrow A. Okay, you get it? And obviously this will be tail event of activity A. Okay. Okay, and if suppose you are having another activity like this, then this will be, you can say it with me, what will be this? And this is suppose Z. Let's take it as a typical one. 0 will be tail event of activity Z, and what will be 1? You can state 1 will be again head event of Z. Okay, so you have tail events, you have head events, and also you have one more type, you have dual role events, because event 1 is right now having a tail end and a head end towards it. Okay, so this activity 1 is called dual role event. Okay, and activity 0 and activity 2 will be called as single role events. Okay, it's pretty obvious. And two more types of classification. And if suppose this is an event, and from that event you are having a number of parallel processes or concurrent processes starting from event 1. Okay, we name these events as 2, 3, 4, and activities as A, B, C. Okay, so 1 is the tail event of 3 activities A, B, C, and 2 is the head event of A, 3 is head event of B, and 4 is head event of C. When this case happens, more than 1, this case happens, 1 will be called as burst event. Okay, typical name, as the name indicates. Okay, similarly, if suppose another one like this, if you have a number of activities merging into a single event, this is bursting out of one single event, will be called as burst event. In here 3 events are merging in, so that event 4 is head event of 3 activities. So we will be calling it as merge event. Okay, then okay, so a couple more terms. We have 3 events like this. Okay, A, activity and B activity. You know the words successor and predecessor. Okay. 3 will be successor of or successor event of two. Obviously, like see, after 2 it comes 3. Okay, and 2 will be successor event of 1. Okay, similarly 2 will be predecessor event of 3, because 2 is just the previous one of 3 and 1 will be predecessor one of event of 2. Okay, so these terms of successor and predecessor can be used with activities also. Okay, A is the predecessor of B and B is the successor of A. Okay, and when we come to activities, these formation in which all activities are aligned serially, it is called serial activities. Okay, and this one, for example, A, B, these activities are concurrent or parallel activities. Okay, so all these are generic terms, it can be understood by the name itself. Okay, and now we are getting in deeper into the network analysis, and a new term comes or a new type of activity comes. It is called dummy activity. Okay, for example, if this is a network diagram, 1, we have 2 activities from 1, this is 2 and this is 3, and from 2 and 3 here it converges into 4. This is a network diagram. Okay, it can be anything. And suppose there is a condition that if we give names A, B, C, D. Okay, suppose if there is a condition that activity, listen carefully, activity D can only start after completion of activity A. If activity D can only start after completion of A, or it can also be stated as after event 2. Okay, so that is, even if there are 2 parts, they have a relation between them. Okay, so activity D can start from here only after completion of A or the occurrence of event 2. Then we will be using dummy activity, which, curious enough, does not consume any resources and does not consume any time, and we will just, to state that condition, we will just draw a dotted arrow. This is dummy activity. Okay, so it is mainly used for grammatical purposes and logical purposes. Okay, so this means the activity D can only start after activity A is complete. Activity D can start only after B and A only after that. Okay, so B is understood. To incorporate A also we are using dummy activity. Okay, so I hope it's clear. And for dummy activity we have two purposes. First one is grammatical purpose. Grammatical purpose means, if suppose this is an event, this is another event, and this is third event, and suppose there is another event like this. We want to draw one like this because for example this can be electrical works and plumbing works. It can be parallel but cannot be drawn like this because there is two events connected by two parallel lines. It is not allowed in network analysis. Now we will redraw it as 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we will connect it with a dummy activity. Okay, so the logic is clear. This can be plumbing and this can be electrical, but the logic is clear, but this awkward situation is avoided. Okay, so we cannot draw a network analysis network like this, so we will use dummy activity to make and generate one more event and make use of the dummy activity to proceed further. Okay, and second one, logical purpose. Logical purpose is used when suppose we have a number of activities like this. Okay, and it is a real life situation. These are all activities. Obviously you would have understood by now that our time travels from left to right. Okay, initially it will start from left, like our writing itself. From left it will proceed to right. Okay, so if this is purchase of electricals, and this activity is purchase of plumbing fixtures, and this is electrical work carried out, and this is plumbing work carried out. Okay, and for this two arrows it will be similar, same event. We will be doubling it, or we will be copying it, cloning it to one more thing, take one more activity, for example plastering, and this also will be plastering. Okay, because plastering will be done only once in that particular. If suppose we are taking a single room, plastering will be done only once. But in case of incorporating this shape or incorporating this plumbing and electrical events, we are using two plastering. But this is not correct. Okay, so plastering is bursting from a single event. Purchase of electrical, purchase of plumbing fixtures, electrical work, plumbing work, and then it can be painting. So obviously we can understand the logic behind the network diagram, but this is not logically correct, because these plastering should be expressed only once. We have expressed, or we have represented plastering as twice, and we need to avoid one. Okay, for this what we'll be doing is we will be using dummy activity and see plastering, end of plastering, electrical purchase, it will be this, plumbing purchase, it will be this one, and we want electrical work, and plumbing work as these activities, and again painting as the last one, and we will join. We are represented plastering as a single one, and we will join these two as with dummy activity. Okay, so the problem of cloning of a single activity is eliminated and the logic is maintained. So we understand that after plastering only you can start electrical work and plumbing work, and then painting can be procured. Okay, so in case of dummy activity there are grammatical purpose and logical purpose it serves. Okay, moving on. So that was about activities and events. Okay, you can represent, even though we have represented activities on arrows right now and nodes or circles as events, there are two types you can draw networks. Okay, the first one is AOA, that is activity on arrow. This is the one we have been using till now. Okay, and second one is activity on node, AON. In this activity on arrow we will be using activity on arrows like this, but in case of activity on node we will be using activities on nodes, and this will be just arrows. Okay, these will be the nodes, will be the activities, activity 1, activity 2, etc. Okay, so we can use AON or AOA, but usually more often than not we will be using AON, but in case of AOA, but in case of AON there won't be any need for using dummy activities, because obviously there are no arrows required or there are no pointers required in case of AOI there, because it will be nodes only. Okay, and AOI is the most usually done, and for repetitive words we use AON. And for more robust or unique research kind of work we use AOA. Okay, so this is the basic idea of network analysis. Next we are going into rules of drawing network diagrams. There are a set of rules, 9 or 8 set rules for drawing a network diagram, and first one we will start right away. First one, a network will have only one initial event. Okay, so if this is a network diagram, it will be having only one initial event, and the events will be starting from here, like this. Okay, and initial event will be having only outgoing activities. Obviously, it won't be having any activities coming into initial event. You will be having only activities going out. Okay, so that is sort of given. And third rule, a network will have only one final event. Okay, at the end it will all converge into one single event. Okay, and the same thing, final event will have only incoming activities. As you can see, you have 3 incoming activities towards time and no outgoing activities. Okay, so these are the first 4, and next one, no activity can start before completion of its predecessor activity. Okay, so as we had discussed earlier, this activity, suppose this is A, B, C, D, E activity cannot be started before completion of B, and C and D then cannot start without completion of A. And we suppose this is F cannot start without completion of C. That is the logic behind this network diagram. That is why we draw this. Okay, and next one, an event cannot occur before all the activities, all the incoming activities are completed. Okay, so if this is 10 is the considering event, this cannot be occurred unless these 3 F, G, H, these 3 activities are completed. Okay, it is as simple as that. Of these 2 rules will be based on the completion of activities and events. Okay, next one, no event can occur twice. That is, looping is not allowed. No event can occur twice, that is, looping is not allowed. That is, if this is 1 and this is 2, this is 3, it cannot be taken back. This will be prohibited in network analysis. If this happens, it will be just running around like a loop. Okay, so no event can occur twice, it will have to go another way. Okay, that's it. The next one, an arrow should represent singular activity. That is, this activity should be singular. It shouldn't represent more than one activity. This one arrow for one activity, not more than one. Okay, an arrow should represent singular activity. That is, not more than one activity should be assigned to one arrow. Okay, so that was 8th rule, and we move on to next one. All constraints and interrelationships should be clearly shown in the network. When you are having a network diagram, we shouldn't be confused about the interrelationship between the activities and events. It should be clear cut. Okay, so next one, network logic should be maintained. Okay, network logic should be maintained. When you understand the logic, you can draw a one, and when you see a network, you should understand the logic. Next one is an obvious one. Time flow is from left to right. Okay, arrows should be represented from left to right, more or less. Okay, the last one, network should be drafted to reach the end event. All the drawings and all the network diagrams and the relationships should be such that the end event should occur. That's our clear goal. Okay, so the completion of this network diagram is our clear goal. So we will be drafting network diagram for that. Okay, so there are around 12 rules for drawing a network diagram, and if we obey all these rules, you can successfully draw a network diagram. Okay, so that was about network analysis. Thank you.